Hi, and welcome everyone. This is Varleigh at Lavender Sky Panther with you on a Saturday once again, May 30th, 2026 at 7 p.m. Eastern, a little bit after. Sorry about the delay if anyone was here promptly. Something just flashed in my mind. Don't go on until 7:05, so here I am, and welcome. And hey, whether you're just showing up for the first time ever or have been back here quite a few rodeos by now, thank you so much for being here. And whether you're watching this live or later on, what counts is whenever you see this transmission, it's in the here and now. So happy to be here with whoever can join in. And I hope you're all having a good right now, whether it's the weekend or, whenever you're watching this. So this show had an unusual little start. So I knew I wanted to feature, which I will, a cloaking craft that I caught up in the skies in June, I think it was June 7th, 2020. And if you've watched my channel at all, and if you haven't, go see my first, 200 videos, especially because those document sky cloaking craft and other anomalies happening over the past 6 years or more. And I say cloaking craft because you can make it out that it's a craft, but you see cloaking material around it. And I call that plasma. Just that's the only word I know to reference. That's something a little bit denser, heavier than just cloud material that clings around an object or forms a portal, that type of thing. So I'm going to get into, well, just go ahead and mark this with the cover right now. This show is live number 32 called Sky Amphorae, which is the plural for amphora, which is this kind of ancient looking vessel with two handles opposed to one. And I'll get into the differences, and I'll get into why this imagery and symbolism is extra important, unbeknownst to me until I started getting into preparing for the show. I just knew that I need to cover this, which I'm going to cover in some slides coming up with more clarity. I caught this up in the skies. It looks like one of these ancient amphorae, or like a Greek vase is what came to my mind when I first saw it. I actually had to look up the word for this thing because in my mind's eye, I saw two handles and the jug that, usually you have to put on a special stand with a ring around it to hold it. And I'm like, okay, Greek vase or urn, or, just trying to get to the right word. So I had to look it up. So the word for one of these is amphora. And with this whole amphorae, it's very tied with the Mediterranean. So it's not just Greek, even though that's what came to my mind. These were used in Egypt and Spain, all around that rim around the Mediterranean Sea. And so anyway, we'll get into that a little bit more. So here we come. So we're going to do sky observations. I'm going to show you that. Now, the show that I talk about, the observation I'm going to show you in detail is number 16. So if you just go back to the beginning of my videos and look up show number 16, you will see it somewhere in the beginning or middle of that show. I think it shows up. Okay, and I'll link that in the description area below. Now, what we're going to do, though, is not only talk about that, but with that came ancient vibes. I said in my little teaser, post about the show coming up for this week, because the ancient vibes part I knew was going to be significant. And I thought, oh, here we go again, maybe for this show, because this was, like a week ago, I posted like what the next topic was going to be. I thought, oh, here we go. I guess I might head in the direction of talking about the Greek gods and mythology and all of this stuff and how it relates to today. But then I just kind of sat with it because I'm like, no, I don't feel like that's where we're supposed to go with it. And then it was only, I got like a 1-2 punch combination punch come in between Thursday, Friday, and this morning. Well, I guess a 1-2-3 punch. That no, we're gonna have a little bit more to do about our ancestors coming through on this reading as well. So the ancients vibe was right on this like jug, and we'll get into it. The jug had a lot of different purposes, but it's also tied into a lot of ancestral things, and even not just ancestral, but I kept getting strong ant energy in here. So almost like an ancestral, to be punny, right? So as per usual, I have a list of notes. I don't just walk around like a walking encyclopedia on this stuff. There are things that will come up and I'm like, ooh, let me look at that. Let me look at that. And before I come on, I just kind of have it retained in there to see whatever wants to jump out. Okay. Now at the very end too, I mentioned there'll be an oracle and tarot portion of the show for any messages that want to come out, if anybody wants to stick around for that. And this time I gave a little heads up on the different groups. So in some channels, you'll see with readings, you can pick group 1, 2, or 3, that kind of thing. Here, I'll just say the big theme around this ancestral thing. It's animals, ancestors, ascendants, and angels. So there's different groups for that you can choose a group or just listen to all of them. When I do these readings, it's very much just for the collective. It's whatever energy wants to come through. I pre-shuffle them because otherwise it gets a little cumbersome on my setup here, since I'm kind of doing multi-purpose, not just readings. I'm going other material. But I kind of already do, when I pre-shuffle, I did that a couple hours before the show. I just connect in and just say, okay, in my mind's eye and my heart, God, the most loving source and everything that there is, all of our divine friends and family, what needs to come through right now for anybody who might perchance catch this show, or per purpose catch this show on purpose. Okay, so let me do this just so I can kind of stay somewhat coherent here. I'm going to start off by showing, I just have a few slides this time that I have prepared to show the craft sighting, the sighting that I had that I'm going to show you. And then I will get into some etymologies and some of the ancestor part, which, will pull in a lot of other kind of fun facts and things. And like I said, usually, when I go through the show, it's just kind of like a drop and go. I want to show you my observation to let you know what's really happening out there. Again, especially intensive since 2020. I was observing stuff before, but I didn't start my YouTube channel till, ironically, without knowing it, like 3 days ahead of COVID. So it wasn't a great moment to start, but oh well, that's when I was kind of guided, corralled over to start this thing. But anyway, so I want to show what has been documented because there are very important findings and observations. And then we'll just have fun with some of these other musings that I have that kind of link in and are connected that want to come through. But it's always just presented to you for food for thought, maybe a springboard if you want to go dig in around. I said I'm going to retire. I'm not going to use the word rabbit holes anymore, the phrase. I'm going to use badger holes. If you want to go down any badger holes and do some more digging on your own, this is kind of what it's all for. And hey, it's a weekend and it's Saturday, so it's just for fun. All right, so, and as usual too, feel free to jump into live chat or not, as you feel. No worries either way. All right, so let's get into this sky observation I keep talking about. And I hinted at on the cover. And on the cover, I put it on such a way that, actually, let me bring it back up again. I was playing around with some of the colors, just as a graphic for the cover page. And this is going to be, the sighting. I'm going to give you more clarity on it. I'm going to show you the actual original to this photograph. But the interesting thing was seeing this in the sky, there were a lot of wavy lines that really made it look like it could almost be underwater, and we're going to get to later. And I posted some video clips on my post section, giving more backstory on the actual ancient, vessel called the amphora, just so you know what it could have been used for. I mean, even though there's documentation about it, there's still kind of a lot of hypotheses about how they actually stacked it in the ship and what it really did, and on, and how much of the fragments of these things they found. And we'll get into that in a bit. But anyway, if you want more backstory on the terracotta or clay vessel itself, go over to my post section. And if I think of it, I will put the links into the description area below too after this show airs. Okay. So, but I like the interplay because they found a lot of these in shipwrecks, some whole and some completely, busted up under sea. I think the largest shipwreck, the largest bunch of these found in a shipwreck, there are about like 6,000, they estimate, of like broken up of these. And well, I guess I'll go ahead and talk about it a little bit now and a little bit later. But these didn't just carry wine; they could carry other liquids like olive oil and other things that were considered an important commodity back then in the shipping lanes. Okay, so anyway, this thing reminded me a lot of something being in water. And so as I was researching this, it's just kind of funny that, yes, these were very much used a part of the shipping and found in shipwrecks. Okay, so let's get into the sky part though. So again, show number 16 in my video section. If you want to see the original video where I really go down into a little bit more detail on this, I'm not going to go into as much detail. But if you look here, okay, this scene is just me doing yard work, not where I live now. But I just looked up in the sky. It was very glaring and bright. And so, but something just told me instinctually to take a photo. Like I thought I knew something was going on up here, but actually I think I took it more because I saw these waves, these ridges, these lines. And then I saw them over here and I saw an area that was darker. So I think actually I thought like a portal was opening up. And I think I was literally doing yard work, like cutting grass. I was dehydrated. It was sweaty, but I at that time was doing a lot of outdoor work. And at that time, I had already been dialed into, look up and start identifying cloaking craft. I was given the vision to see back in 2018. I tell my story about that, like from one night to the next, so to speak. Started, seeing these things in the sky, and was very grateful for digital camera technology to be able to pick it up too, so that I could not just say, "Oh, there's that," and somebody goes, "Yeah, you're crazy." They could actually see it in the photo as well. So here's the original, So when I went back inside, again, everything was bright and glaring, but I did see these waves very prominently in this darker area. But then to my shock, utter shock and amazement, I saw this thing. So I just called it vase-shaped craft in quotes. Whenever I say craft in quotes, I'm talking about a cloaking craft, a UFO, OVNI, if you're in a different part of the world where you use the acronym OVNI for UFO. There we go. But anyway, so I just said vase-shaped craft because, as I said at the beginning of the show, I saw what I could just make out as, I didn't have the word amphora for it yet, so just Greek urn or Greek vase shape. And the reason why I said that is because we have these handles off to the side and they're symmetrical. Symmetrical, and they do the same thing, on each side. So given that it's in this position, because I didn't rotate the photo, this is exactly as I'm standing there looking up and taking a photo. And actually, this was off to the south and southwesterly direction, and very low in the sky. I mean, this is just like a palmetto type palm tree. This is not very high up. Okay, that also really stood out to me, literally. And so when I took the photo, I was feeling like, okay, that looks like a Greek vase. Although, and as Here to There had mentioned in one of the other posts I made, it does also have a very insect-like quality to it. So when I first was looking at it, I was thinking Greek vase right away. I mean, if you turn it on its side, it could also be like a fish, if you see what I'm seeing, like almost like those kids' goldfish that they eat. So this is the tail, and then that would be like the point toward the nose and the face, right? And so when I was looking at it, in addition to right away thinking Greek vase, I also was feeling like ant, like the abdomen of an ant. It felt very insect-like. So as I do my usual, just playing around with contrast, color, saturation, and brightness, that's all it takes on any of your own photos that you either do on your camera phone or in another way. Boom, this is what we started to see, okay? So that's just with a little bit of contrast. If you look up over here, sorry, this is where I'm talking about, okay? So with those enhancements, this started to pull out. And so if you can see, sorry, I got to switch hands here. If you can see what I'm seeing, there's the two handles, the top, the neck of the jug, and that would be the cap, and then the point. Okay. Let me put this, I don't have my right stuff with me today. Let's just do this. So there we go. So that's it with a little more contrast. Now, again, it's a symmetrical object. And so the more you look, the more you're going to find. And, I'll post stills of this also probably in the post section after this. But you really start to see that is a symmetrical object that has like a design intent behind it. So knowing what I know now, and this is just, another view of it, a little bit later where it starts to disappear into the clouds. But you still see this, solid, maybe you don't. You still see it's retained its shape, even though it's kind of disappearing into the clouds now. It's retained its shape. And it's got like these like handles, on the side, you see? So knowing what I know now, it's a cloaking craft. And these things that I was saying look like handles of an amphora, these are like probably like wings. This might be the back of the ship, that might be the front. So hard to say exactly, but I can say that's nothing natural that just happens in the clouds, and especially when you get to symmetry. So we talk about identifying cloaking craft in the sky. Again, no fear here on this channel. I would tell you if, oh my God, I was in the yard and I just was like, something said, stranger danger, run inside. I didn't have that. It was more like looking up and you're like, huh, am I seeing what I'm seeing? Because these things also just present like in a nanosecond. So you'll be looking up at the sky And then usually how these cloaking craft work is they don't just say, oh, hey, here I am forever. The clouds kind of move, shift and move apart. And then you just glimpse this for like a second. And then the clouds come back over. And so it's with intention that whomever is in these craft, again, if it's not a bad vibe, which this was not, you know, that's kind of like your galactic friends and family. Now, galactic, I say, but ETs and things in this craft, it can come from inner Earth, from the ocean. It can come from out in outer space. So to me, you know, this is more of like it was a galactic thing, but I don't know. It could come in from any dimension. It even can come in from parallel Earth, a parallel version of Earth. And or it's just always there. And just now we're upgrading with our vision, or as they say, the veil is thinning, either or both. And a lot of us are going to start to see these things if we want to. And it wasn't like I went out and said, hey, I want to see all these craft. I just literally woke up from one day to the next, was able to see them. But it wasn't like, oh my God, what is this? It was just like, oh, okay, hey, this is really cool. Didn't know that this was a thing. And like I said in other videos, and then I was slow drip shown a little more, you know, not to freak me the F out, you know. So just it would seem to be a gradually, organically evolving process that I was shown a little more. So it started with shapes, with patterns, things like, you know, octagons, hexagons, shapes with very straight sides, you know, equilateral triangles. So the shapes presented first to get the attention because it's like, okay, hard lines like that and symmetry like that is as a shape, a rigid shape, do not present in actual cloud system. So that gets your attention first, right? And then later, different types of shapes started to present. And then later after that, different ways that they present. Some look a little more layered or translucent and come in and out. Some look organic, like organic beings. I showed on a recent show, the Sphere show. Something looked like an octopus. I mean, you zoom in, you see the eyes, you see the tentacles. And at first I'm like, what the heck? And a lot of times they'll present in your camera. So if you have a camera phone or you're outside, like I always say, spend at least 2 to 5 minutes, minimum 2 minutes, but like 5 minutes, and just really look at one area of the sky. Or if you're driving along, if you're in a car or riding a bike or walking, you might be called to just like look up and see something in the sky. So that's a great time to take a picture if you can, like pull over safely, obviously if you're driving or whatever. But take a picture and then don't worry about seeing anything in there at the time. Once you get to home or a safe place where you can sit down and take a look, have a look at it, sometimes you will then see stuff emerge in your photo. And especially if you just up and lower the color, saturation, brightness, and contrast, those 3 things alone really start to show you what might be in your photo. Okay, so anyway, this started presenting this vessel, and I'll just show a few more enhancements. You know, I kind of pushed color, saturation, or contrast just to show a little more nuances of this thing that I saw in the sky. But here's a little side by side. So I can just say this was my gut level feeling of, oh, the thing I'm seeing in the sky was like this thing, which I later found out was an amphora. So here I played around with the color, saturation, and stuff, just so you can more clearly see what is object and what is the cloaking material. So the cloaking material here is anything kind of pinkish, reddish rust in this photo, you know, a little violet. And then the object is the darker indigo color. Okay, so this is like wafting. I like to say wafting. I know it's wafting, but like wafting plasma material coming over the thing that helps cloak it in the clouds. And so, but you know, our cameras don't lie. They're picking up the more object-based thing, which is that darker bluish color. So again, see if you see what I'm seeing. But to me, bam, that image came in my mind when I'm looking at this thing. Like I said, other than also feeling like this part was like the abdomen of an ant. So anyway, so here, I'll hold it back a little. You can see the side by side. And then I really widened it out for another look or view at this. So here it is when I put more brightness on the photo. You can still see this object is holding. And then now we see these waves come up a little bit more pronounced on each side. And then over here, we see there's another object cloaking in here. So there's heavier cloaking happening on this side. And I think another one of these was up over here somewhere, but was cloaking even more dense, so you couldn't see it. But look at this thing, you know, this other thing cloaking over here. You know, it's a weird little thing, looks very organic, almost like a bendy starfish arms, you know, happening because other parts of it are cloaked up here. So, but clearly something else is a companion to this cloaking in the clouds. And then I put up this example of, it's not an amphora because that's with this thing with the dolphin. I just thought it was really pretty. I was looking up ancient vases and vessels. So this one, when it has one handle, I found out, an amphora, but it means the two handles. So, you know, one handle on each side of this vase or, you know, vessel. But when it just has one handle, which it's cut off, but this would loop here, and then the top of the jug would be here. When it has one handle, it's called onakoe, or wait, onakoe, something like that. So in Greek. So anyway, I'm just putting this one though on there, even though it doesn't have the two handles and it's not as pointy at the bottom, just because it reminds me some of the coloring with these, you know, flowers are reddish and yellows in there. And then it also just shows you, you know, the first example I showed you was very plain, you know, like this. This is very utilitarian. This amphora here, no decoration on it. But of course, you know, if you looked at any Greek pottery over time, you'll see it can get highly decorative and painted. So I just liked that image and I wanted to include it. Okay, so back to now, that was just the sky example. See if you agree, or maybe other shapes and forms come to mind, other than, for me, the amphora or the abdomen of the insect. So here, just for fun, that now led me, now that I know the word is amphora, to looking up more in detail. So all of these examples are kind of what I thought of when I saw that sky observation, down to the detail of, these are thrown on a potter's wheel. Let's see if I can get to the right one here. See those ridges, and up here? Those ridges even remind me of whatever was happening in the sky. So these ridges here, which I'll put back up, you know, we see all these ridges in the sky, and I'll even pull up the original, they really show up. Reminded me of, you know, the fingers that, and the potter's wheel, when you're throwing the pottery, you know, create that. So that's why my mind, you know, I guess on this one it's easiest to tell, you know, see all those ridges. Now those ridges, those are undulations, those are waves, frequencies in the sky. So to me, that's whatever the craft is generating, whatever its power source is, or maybe that's part of the camouflage technique on this thing. It just generates out that energy probably naturally. So when you see those waves, you know, it could be cloaking craft. Now, back in the day when I started all of this, the buzzword was, oh, it's harp in the sky whenever you see waves in the sky and in the clouds, funky waves. Sometimes, maybe, yes, but more often than not, I think it is cloaking craft up there creating it, generating it. It can be either or both, okay? So anyway, that's just, you know, again, down to the detail of the energy waves up in the sky, or frequencies, whatever you want to call it, those being on these amphorae, you know, totally reminded me of what I saw in the sky. Now, this is an ancient coin that has a picture of an amphora, just for fun. You can see it there. And then these are just other types, you know, just other images of different types of amphorae. And then we'll get to one more. I posted this under my post section. Why are they shaped, these vessels, these potteries, you know, with it to a point? You know, it was a question I had. And this is just a diagram I saw on the internet here, you know, this one. Oops, explaining why and how, you know, it would be shaped to a point. So without getting into too much detail on this one, though, it has to do with separating sediments and things like the wines, or maybe some of the oils, so you wouldn't have the chunky bits, you know, when you pour the liquid right there in your fresh little wine glass, it would already separate out the sediment. And then as this thing is transported on these old-fashioned hulls and these ships, let's see, yeah, here, I guess it's this one. You know, they just show that maybe they created this kind of lattice work here to hold the points, and then they could stack them up along. I had a different photo, I didn't include it, but they could stack it up along this side of the hull. So some people conjecture that, oh, they were pointy, so they could have more room to stack more and carry more useful load in some of the ships. And then here is just another, you know, grouping of them. So they were often, you know, just utilitarian, you know, probably, I hate to use this analogy, but just coming to me, Probably like the plastic bottles everyone just disposes of, whether you're putting it in recycling or not. It's just like, oh, one and done. You use it, throw it away. That's how they use this pottery. Now, anybody who's done pottery could go, oh my gosh, what a crime. Even if you're throwing the most utilitarian thing with no detail on it, it's still you're crafting it from hand. You're pulling the clay from the earth. It just seems like sacrilege, right? But there's some documentation in one of the videos I put in my post section, a link to it. Apparently there's this place, and I forget the name of it, where I think it's in Italy, where there's just a huge mountain, like we joke and call it Mount Trashmore in Florida. Like the highest mountain is this garbage mound. But there's this huge mound like that, and it's filled with crushed and damaged amphorae. Like they just literally chucked it on the pile. And I forget how many tons of millions of these things, or if it's in the millions, how many they found in this huge mountain. So it's just a very interesting thing. I had no idea about this whole world of the amphora until I started looking around for the show. Okay, so that sums up that part of the show with the sky observation and the actual clay earthen vessel. So after I would put that together, that was at the beginning of the week, I was just kind of meditating lightly, like, okay, it feels like there should be something else message wise, or that wants to be a part of the content of this show. Not that it has to be. I could just sign off right now and just say, hey, thanks, for joining me. But it felt like, no, there's a reason why I thought of this show from 2020, this observation, to put up now, and specifically with that shape and the feeling behind it of that earthen thing, and the fingers, creating like those frequencies, those wavelength bands. And so if you looked at my post section, I had, for whatever reason, I don't normally do this, I decided to do a card pull, and I posted it on Thursday night, and it had very heavy ancestral vibes, guardian angel vibes, communicating that you're not alone thing, and that there are others here, very ancient vibes coming through, just like that sky observation I said had an ancient vibes feel to it. And so I posted that Thursday, and I'm like, I even thought, should I take it down? Because I'm like, I don't know. Hey, I just put whatever I'm guided to do up there. Well, then the very next morning, and I posted it today, I opened the door, I looked out my doorstep, and there was this pristine owl feather. I had to look it up to see, is it owl, is it hawk? I don't know the feather markings of some of these beautiful birds. But anyway, I looked it up, and the more I looked, I'm pretty sure, like 99% sure, that it's a barred owl feather. And I put a little, if you look on my post section, I put some not backstory, but some images saying symbolisms of owls and all this other stuff. And one of the symbolisms is that is of the ancestors. And so I was just like in the moment, caught up in the moment. I'm like, oh, that's so cool, an owl feather. I've never seen one before, in the wild. And is that even an owl or a hawk? What is it? And I was just so like, oh, that's exciting. And I knew that was something special because I've never seen one before in my life. And just casually laying there, it was clearly meant to get my attention because it's like right when you step out of the door, and it was on the ground. But it looked like it was very, carefully placed. It may have just fallen off an owl, but it looked very specifically done. And then the more that I kind of put two and two together, it took me a bit for it to dawn on me like, oh gosh, I was talking about it in the Thursday little reading I posted about the flying, birds and other flying insects and animals as being, messengers to the other realm when our loved ones pass or transition. And I talked about that, but I forgot to mention that they give us signs in feathers, right? A lot of us know that if you don't see the actual hummingbird, or for me, it's red cardinals with a couple of father figures who passed. Their messenger absolutely was a red cardinal. And there's even a saying that goes, and I mess it up every time. I'll mess it up again probably now, but it's like when a cardinal appears, angels are near, or vice versa. And for me, that's absolutely true, because they always come at a part of off season when they're not supposed to be out, or there's one that's just so bright, or it's in an unusual place. And you just feel it when it's an auspicious, like a separate, more divine encounter than just, oh, hey, look, there's a cardinal on the fence. There's usually weight behind it, so to speak, spiritual weight behind it. But anyway, so this beautiful owl feather was a reminder for me to bring that up today and remind that, yes, not only do we actually see the hummingbird or the cricket or the whatever, we see the feather. Now, that showed up on my doorstep. So Now we're heading not just from amphora, but now we're heading into a heavy kind of ancestor feel to the show. And so I woke up this morning also just kind of saying it to myself, hey, the show's today, anything else that really should come through messages wise. And again, it was a reinforcement of the ancestor idea. I got that loud and clear to the point where I like to wake up to a clock radio, the old fashioned way to music. You just like to, more often than not, like 80s music because it's got a little higher vibe to it. But I woke up and a song from one of my very specific loved ones who passed came up. And so, and it's not a song that comes on all the time. So I'm like, okay, I get it. I'm going to bring a little more into the show about ancestors, guardian angels, and whatnot. Okay. So anyway, all that to say, I'm going to take a step back and now just looking at my notes to stay a little bit more on track. It's all tied into all of this. But I'm going to go through just the etymology, just of a few words, and then talk about the ants a little, and then we'll get into some of the reading. But I do want to say, too, also with this show, I talk about there being angel numbers, and if it's new to you, it's when you happen to look over on a clock, and it says 444, 222, 111, 1111. A lot of people first have a kind of great awakening. They start seeing 1111 everywhere. And that's what they call angel numbers. So they're kind of messages from your guardians or your angelics, guardian angelics, as you wake up. And the 1111 and the 111 saying you're on the right track, you're supported, we're here for you. There's stuff in the unseen realm that is here to support you. And there's a site I'll send you to. I've referenced it before. For those of you who already know it, bear with me. But there's an Australian blog site that if you just do an internet search, it's called Joanne Sacred Scribes Angel Numbers. And when you go to that site, you can put in any number combination you want. Some of us have just, weird combinations of numbers you'll see all the time. It doesn't have to be on the clock and you look up and you're like, oh, 333444. You could have like a life number that tracks with you, like you might have it encoded in a phone number if you have like a professional license plate. You might more look at your documents, even your house number, you might start to see this repeating number. And the angel numbers I forgot to mention are sequential kind of repeating numbers. You might see them just repeatedly, or literally it's a repeating number like a 111. Or both. And so I have a specific set of numbers encoded into my life story. The more I looked, I'm like, oh my gosh, these numbers are everywhere. They're 3 numbers in my specific case. Now I'm just going to throw out a random number. This has nothing to do with anything in my life, or maybe not even in your life, but just as an example, it might not be 111. You might look and everywhere all of a sudden you start to see 228. Or any combination of that, 822, or, this is just a random example. Or, some people have seen like 711 or whatever, but it could be, here, I'll just pull out of nowhere too, like 354. It could be anything, but it repeats. And so if it has some kind of connection to you or some kind of meaning, even if you don't know what it means yet, just know that as you see that repeatedly, it's a good thing. And it means that there's others in the unseen. They could be standing right next to you. Your guardian angelics can be like right there. Or your loved ones that have passed on or transitioned can be standing right there, but we just don't see into that frequency yet. That's all. But it's just showing you those repeated numbers, whatever they are, if they have a good meaning or just even an unknown meaning to you, that, hey, don't worry. Your unseen protectors, ancestors, guardians, angels, God's source, whoever you feel comfort from, Jesus, are there, or any other ascended masters. I was just pulling from the Kuan Yin deck, the Wild Kuan Yin deck the other day. I'm going to have more cards coming up at the end with that deck. Any loving support, that's all who these figures are. And ETs too, if they've got a good vibe, that's loving galactic friends and family. They count as well. A lot of people confuse angels for ETs and for this and that. And at the end of the day, and ascended masters, it's all love. And, we are all we are all an actual kind of piece of God, of source, if you will. We are all that light. And if we get out of, looking with our physical eyes and attaching a male or female form, or the person looks like this and this, and just go to what we truly are, is just a spark of light. That's how I see all of these things. There's neither male, female, it's just love. It's everything. Then, that's why I just say it kind of is potato with some of these things. And especially some of these loving guardians may show up and come to your awareness whether it's in a dream time, astral travel, or while you're sitting somewhere, you see an orb of light, or, you may see a form of light, like the outer, kind of silhouette of light, depending on what level you're seeing into the other realms. Or you just may see a sign, or something was moved. You're the only one in your house, and like you had pennies. I know somebody who had this happen. They had a pile of pennies at the end of the table. They had just lost, I think, a husband or something, and they woke up the next morning. No one else was in the house, and all of the pennies were gone. And then she woke up another morning, and then all of the pennies were on the opposite end of the table. And so this is another thing, aside from like seeing feathers or signs. They call that, what, pennies from heaven. There's a phrase. The angelic or others in a different kind of frequency have the ability to move things. Now that happens to be copper. I think my own theory that came up this morning just in my mind is that, copper is very conductive. And so that's like a very maybe easy thing to manipulate in our realm from another realm. Also, like I just told you my example this morning, I got an angel message, ancestor message, loved one who transitioned on through the radio. That's very common too. That others in other realms, they can work with the electronics. So you'll get stuff coming through the radio waves. I know another story of a family who, I just say, unfortunately, things play out as they are intended. I don't think there are any mistakes, but let's just say a young child, went too soon, and the child, was gone. But the child, it was an affluent family. Child had its own room. I'll just say it was a he, had his own room, and even had, there was like an intercom system throughout the house because it was a fairly large house. And so there was an intercom, old-fashioned style, we're talking years and years ago, where you would hit a button, say on the wall, or on a little console next to the bed, and there would be a light, and you press it, and you can, reach someone in the kitchen, say, and there's another panel in the kitchen, and the person can hear the intercom and see the light flash up. So this capability was in the house. And so where the young one, actually was a traumatic loss, how the young one died. But anyway, the young one had this intercom in his room, and it had the ability to reach the kitchen and other rooms in the house. So anyway, long story short, after the child had passed, the parents, to come home after the funeral. And I think it had been, I'm not sure how many months or weeks or days that time had passed, but it had been at least a week, let's just say, after the child had passed. And the parents were in the kitchen, and the intercom goes on, and they look, and the source address of it, button of being pushed, was in the child's room. Now they knew no one else was in the house, and neither of them were, in that room. So they were like, kind of like, what's going on? So they went up to the room, like thinking there's an intruder or whatever, and there was nobody there. Now they thought, okay, that's rather strange, but then they kind of went about their business. And this happened kind of repeatedly through the week. And so what it was the child communicating from the other side. So again, seems to be through electronics, radio waves. It just is coming up now, I think, because it's reminding me of the different frequencies and how, our loved ones can work with them, and again, these frequencies. And then that reminded me too of what I had personally happen. And actually, I was on a live show when this happened. I was a guest on a live show. And one of my loved ones, who recently had passed at that time, maybe was already passed for almost a year, but was communicating through this electronic can opener. So it was this can opener that played a fight song for a university that he attended. And actually, I had purchased it for him, the loved one. And so this thing, with no rhyme or reason, would go off at different times. And yes, it had batteries in it, but it wasn't bumped. It wasn't moved. So it wasn't like this can opener, by me or anybody else for that matter, that it got tripped. Now you could say, oh, maybe there was quote unquote faulty wiring or something. But no, I had passed it on to another family member who, had a connection to this, loved one who passed and whatever. And that family member had it happen to them too. And I had explained what happened with me, that I thought that was the family member kind of communicating and messing around through this can opener. And I know for sure it was. I mean, I could trace it, that it was the times that it went off was my loved one from the other side just kind of messing with me, for fun, like joking. And it went to the point where the person, family member I handed it to, just as like a memento and to tie, to the loving family member, they heard it go off, and I had told my story. They got a little freaked out. So then they took the batteries out of it. And then they let me know later that it went off even without the batteries. So make of it what you will. I just know intuitively it definitely was connected, and that's how the loved one was communicating. And then it got to the point where it just went off at these certain times. And I'm just like, eye roll, like, okay, my loved one, I know you're there, just don't freak me out sometimes with this thing, right? So anyway, that's just coming up that there's so much in the unseen and in these different frequencies. They're, very living part of different realms. We overlap at times. Sometimes we can see deeper. Sometimes our loved ones in the other planes or frequencies can do a little more than not, like if they can leave a physical thing like a flower or a penny. And other times it's just a feeling. You can be sitting down and maybe just kind of feel love overwhelm you. And then we know that we have loving support, ancestors. Again, it can be ancestors, loved ones who have more recently passed. And, guardian angelics, ETs, there's just so much on the unseen realm. The angels, if I didn't say that already, God source, Jesus, ascended masters, all of it, right? So now I want to go through just some quick etymology, and then I'll tie this back all around together, and then I will just pull some cards. Let's see what we come up with tonight. So I was looking up, aside from, I already talked about the amphora and the oinakoi, the one-handled vessel. Now, vessel itself can have roots in, actually, there are about 4 different ancient Greek words that also connect in with vessel. And I'm not going to say the Greek word because I can't read the Greek letters, but I will just give the meanings. So one of the meanings attributed to it is like tool or functional structure. Now, think about it. When we think of a vessel, you can also think in the body, we have vessels, and that applies, right? Like a blood vessel, it's a functional structure. Then we have carried on both sides. So that's also part of vessel, even though amphora is more specifically two-handled vessel. That's carrying on both sides. And to me, that vessel, the reason why I'm saying even going down the path of talking about vessel is that what I saw in the sky was a vessel. It was also a ship, but it also looked like this Greek vessel. And also vessel tied into the whole ancestor ancients side of the show, because to me, when I read one of the meanings for vessel is carried on both sides, right away I feel it like the support of a guardian angel on each side of you, walking with you, supporting you. Then we have, it can also just be a jar or a receptacle. It's again like a container, something holding something, right? And we can hold objects, and we hold spirit, like our whole body is a vessel. And then we have another meaning is, let's see. Oh yeah, just like a floating vessel or ship. So then we get into the notion of a vessel being a container, but also bringing in the idea of liquid. Okay, and what we have is ship floating. It's floating in water. It's floating in something thick, viscous, right? So then that brings me to also, okay, I'm going to flip the order. Okay, then I wanted to look up, since we're talking about a liquid and we're talking about ancestors, and ancestor, that etymology is just one who goes before. The an part is like ante, like antechamber. There's a lot of words with different Greek and Latin bases that talk about ante, or even in modern language, in the Romance language. So in Spanish and Italian, we've got antes, we've got the ant, in front of it. But anyway, when we're talking about then the thick liquid and like a vessel suspended in that, I thought of blood also came through this morning as nothing to fear. These days they have these awful movies that just give, put blood in there as a shock factor, but it's a very sacred thing. The cells themselves are memory holders, just like water. It is liquid. It's holding memory in those cells. It's holding information and memory and feeling of our ancestors and those who have come before. I mean, we carry it in our body. The DNA too goes down the whole line, right? And so the more I thought about that, I wanted to look up the etymology, especially when we're talking vessels, like I just mentioned, blood vessels, right, as a phrase. So we have in ancient Greek, I'll probably say it wrong, but it's haima, and there's also hema. Hema, like there's a crystal called hematite because it has a quality that looks like blood. So hema, all that coming from Greek. So that means a thick liquid, like a thick viscous liquid. It also has some connotations connecting in with honey and sap, again, just because of that thick liquid quality. And as we know, there's beautiful qualities with honey and properties and everything to do with that, and sap, which then is also a crystal. It's funny, these things are coming up. Amber, amber is a form of resin, not sap, sorry. Sap has more to do with a water base. We get into resin, it gets a little bit thicker, but it reminds me of the same thing. Okay, and then the haima, I don't know how you say it, part, also can mean to burn or to roast. And another, maybe more loose meaning, but somebody came up with the etymology of this, is that haima connects in with blood, because haima can mean hot, like with the roasting and all of that. And then that would further imply the incandescent vital body. So as we know, what are we as human beings? Warm-blooded. And so that brings in that warm factor into the blood. And again, that can be a very comforting thing in our body. It is our life vitality. So I didn't expect to go down that direction because I don't know, when I hear the word blood, I don't even want to think about it. But something today is directing me very much to connect in with that life-giving, force that it is. And then we have water. So water, there's that phrase, blood is thicker than water. Well, actually true. But then the etymology of water, we get into hydra. So HYDR, so like hydra, hydrogen. But there's also an aspect of it that looks like ved, like WED from the Greek, and that is like wet. And so it all connects. Then I had one more word I wanted to look at the etymology of, and coincidentally, kind of laughing in quotes, it's not coincidental, but I had 7 items to look at the etymology of. Another thing that happened when I woke up and thinking about, oh yes, we're very much going to go down the ancestor and ancients path with this show. Also the number 7, I've been seeing it all week. And number 7 too, even to this morning, came up the 7 wonders of the ancient world. I have a book here. I may hold it up. But something about 7 tied in with the ancestors is coming up as well. But then the 7th word I wanted to look up the etymology of was memory. And so depending on what culture you look to, there's mu, M, it looks like a capital M and a lowercase u in script when you look at it in Greek. It's the 12th Greek letter. It's the sound. To me, that further connects back to the vessel being the womb, because we got the blood imagery and the life force. We've been talking about all of that. And to me, when the baby, little one first starts making noises and sounds, it's the sound typically. And then you get into the and the mum and then the mama, right? It's the reason why I believe, that M sound flows through. There's a lot of reasons, even with there's something about the sound that's very comforting that brings us back to our origins somehow. And it's written in the DNA to the fact that nobody teaches the little baby to say or You can have one that has, nobody's even said the word mom or mama around it. And it just naturally comes out with that sound. If you think about it too, it's like a hum, tying back in the ant. I'm going to get to that vessel kind of had the ant-shaped body and abdomen, and the little pun about ancestors, not just ancestors. It's also that like the buzzing, like gets into kind of maybe insects or hummingbirds, right? And we talked about those as being messengers between the realms. So I'm just moving into a fun direction here. I'm just going with the flow. And and thank you, Joy to Share, for joining in. I didn't mean to make you wait so long. I just see your comment. Hey, Varleigh, glad to catch your live. I think your connection is cutting out, though. Oh, shoot. Other things seem to load up for me, but your stream keeps cutting out. Oh, I really hope it's not cutting out for everybody. Let's see. See. Oh, okay, good. Joy to Share says, sorry about the cutting out part. It didn't glitch on my end, but you never know with these things. Thank you for letting me know. And please, people, do let me know in the chat if I'm ever talking and there's no volume or it's cut out, if you can. Like I say, one time it did happen to me that the whole connection just cut out mysteriously. And if that ever happens, I will try to get back on right away, and I'll just put like part 2 in the title. And so, and Joy to Share says it's 7:54 here, as you mentioned 7. Nice, I love it. There's obvious 7 o'clock, but also the 5 plus 4 together equal 9. Then add 9 to 7, and that equals 16. 1 plus 6 equals 7. Interesting sequence. Love it. Thank you, Joy, to share. I really appreciate that. And that's true. Thanks for reminding me. As I do, I always feel out when I should even do the show. So like it's been typically 8 o'clock. It just seems like a good rhythm for me to do it at 8 p.m. at night on Saturdays. But then even before I mentioned the 7 and the 7 ancients of the 7 ancients, the 7 wonders of the ancient world came up, and the 7s all week. Even before all of that, just something said do this at 7. So there you go. There's something about 7 this week. All right, so then and thanks for making the comment. And then now we're going to get to the ant part. So no, I didn't even look up the etymology of ant, but what I did look up was this. The shape that I said, about the object in the sky. Let me pull it up one more time, just because I really love looking at it myself. This observation, I'm still kind of in shock, wonder, and awe that I even caught this back in 2020. So, like I said, looking at this thing, trying to get the right angle, this thing just in the sky, and I'll refer to here because it's just easier to see. Right away, that bigger bulbous body, aside from being vase, Greek vase or amphora shaped, this is the part that just really reminded me of the abdomen of an insect. So I'm sure there are a lot of insects, I guess, hornets, wasps, and everything that have that shape too. But for me, right away, I just wanted to look at the ant, like what that does, because I kept getting it wasn't anthorax. There's just some kind of word that kept coming to me. And so that's why the A's, like the ant and the abdomen. So I just looked it up now. I wanted to know what's the function of the abdomen. And so I'm just thinking digestive system right away. That's kind of all I thought that it did. I guess clearly I don't remember much of my general science from going to school way back when. But I looked it up now, and actually I'm going to read this part. There's just a real short. I took 2 screenshots. I just wanted to mention, and then probably we'll move into the card portion of the show. Okay, so I'm just going to read a little bit about the ant, the abdomen of the ant. So it says an ant's abdomen or gaster functions as a bustling biochemical factory and storage hub. It houses, I lost it. It houses the digestive tract, a multi-chambered heart, reproductive organs, and specialized glands that control almost all ant communication and defense. So, okay, this is just one of these stupid internet summaries. I usually don't like to look to them, but sometimes they are helpful. And again, as I said, anything I drop and go here on the show is just to kind of pique your interest, maybe, have you go off and as a springboard to look into any of these in more depth on your own. But I'm going to just read the rest of this because I found it fascinating. So it says the 2 stomachs, the crop, an expandable storage organ that holds liquid food. Ants share this food with nest mates. And I think it's called trophallaxis, or the official name of the nest mates. Then it says the midgut stomach, where actual digestion occurs to fuel the ant's own body. Then we have the chemical factory, they say. The poison glands produce venom or formic acid for hunting and defense. Then there's the Dufour's gland, produces trails and alarm pheromones used to coordinate the colony. Then we have vital organs and systems. The heart, a long tubular heart that pumps blood throughout the body, and they call the blood hemolymph. Malpighian tubules function like kidneys to filter waste from the hemolymph. Spiracles, tiny holes along the abdomen that allow the ant to breathe. And then we have the reproductive organs. In queens, the abdomen contains highly developed ovaries for laying eggs. So you know what? That just opened up a whole new world for me. And somebody can cue the whole new world song, from the cartoon, I guess, Aladdin. But, that opened up a whole new world of discovery for me. So when I do these shows, it's for all of us. It's to give awareness about, in this case, the craft. But I'm diving right into all of this stuff with you guys. And this stuff just lights me up. So I hope you find it even mildly entertaining, if nothing else. But anyway, and then I wanted to get to, I'm going to jump back because I missed something. I want to jump back for a minute to the etymology of memory. So I think I left that hanging as a cliffhanger. So with memory, I started talking about the baby and the and then I went off my own track. So I want to come back around because I think I talked about mu being the 12th letter of the Greek alphabet, and then I got into the sounds. But mu also is a derivation supposedly from Phoenician, which is mem, M-E-M. So then we get into that's the memory part, right? But it also gets into a connection to water. And so let's see. Oh, yeah. And the connection there, the thread is, so we've got mu for Greek, 12th letter, okay, M sound. That comes from the Phoenician letter mem, which already we can see memory. But that mem comes from Egyptian and the hieroglyphic with the wavy lines, which is water. So I was going somewhere with this. So anyway, all of this reinforces all the etymology that there's a connection with vessel down to our blood vessels, ancestors, the blood, the water, the memory, the encoded memory within us, within DNA, within our very cells. And then it gets us all the way into, just even the hieroglyphics, the wavy lines, and the actual antiquities, whether it's amphora or hieroglyphics. And then if we want to take it even a step further with the ants, and aside from the corny, cheesy ancestor pun, we get into the stories by some indigenous cultures, including the Hopi, about there being an ant people. And that takes us in a whole different direction. However, it also connects us back to there being other beings and the whole thing about the Hopi culture seeing the star people. And we get back to my observation of the craft in the sky. So that's how I want to loop up and tie this in a bow as far as the main messages of the show and the channel. It's funny, it's because it's like 8:02 where I'm at. So that concludes the cloaking, craft, and ancestor portion of the show. Unless any of you have some fun or even just comments, hellos, whatever you want to do in the chat. And if not, I'm going to keep going. And so now is the Oracle and Tarot card portion of the show. If that's not anybody's thing, feel free to hop off. And if not, I'm going to keep going regardless. So I'm going to say 3 things and just go with the one that pulls and tugs at you the most when I say 3 words, or maybe a few more words. And that's going to be your group. So I do have this organized in like 3 specific groups, but like I said, these are collective readings. It's kind of like you could take all the piles and do that if you wish to too. But let me start off by saying animals or animal spirit. Okay, that's 1. 2 is, we'll say angels. Is it just angels? Yes, angels. And 3 is going to be ancestors, ascended masters, ancients. So just think of which one of those groups, just by hearing it, kind of tugs at you a little more than others. And like I said, if not, it doesn't matter. We're going to look at all of them anyhow. Okay. So I'll start off with the animals. And I kind of pre-did this. I don't know if they're all going to fall. Hopefully not. I'll just kind of show you. I have a little board set up for each group. And I have a picture of these, which I'm going to post after this airs. And I will also hold up each individual card. So what I have is, I'll just describe it and very quickly, and then I'll just do a very kind of quick overview, and then you'll see the images. I'll hold up each card and you'll see the images in the post section later. So we have the kind of first thing came up ironically, and serendipitously, if that's a word, is the owl. Let's see, what is this? The owl and hop, like the plant is like hops. And the message here is wisdom. So this comes from the woodland, what's it called? The woodland animals? Sorry, I had to look. Woodland Wardens deck. And so this is nice pairing, nice artistry here, the illustrated cards. So they pair the owl with it's like flora and fauna. They pair it with a plant or flower in this deck, the animal. And so we have the owl and the hop, wisdom. Now I've covered on other shows, and especially if you look at one of my skywatching shows earlier called The Sky Visit, that's when I observed 2 owls in the yard, and I do a whole thing about that in depth. And I have a more recent live about that too. But with that, the owl connection, tying this in with our ancients and showing the Greek vessel, the amphora, we could look at the owl as the icon or symbol for Athena, the Greek goddess Athena. We know she was, if we can believe any of the accounts handed down thus far, she was supposedly wicked mad into doing transforming people against their will. So Arachne into the spider, Medusa, the into I forget the name, but anyway, a Gorgon, with the snakes as the hair. She transformed so many more, and I'm blanking on them right now. But anyway, the symbol for her was the owl, also not only wisdom, but like wisdom with battle strategy and war strategy. That was kind of her thing, right? And what do we know? I'll just loosely mention too, that there seems to be some kind of connection between people seeing an owl and ETs as well. And so apparently, if you look into Dolores Cannon's, I think it's the Custodians. Actually, I have the book here. I believe it's in this one that she goes into talking about she herself had an encounter involving a screen memory, and that's when an ET might show up. It might think, oh my gosh, the person's going to totally freak out if they see us in our true form. And so they kind of project a memory so that you register and see them physically as something else. And that could be it's a little unusual, like in her case, she was driving up, I think, a hill to get to her home in the Ozarks. And she looked at the front bumper where the lights were, and there was this huge owl, like a 4-foot tall owl or something. And she knew something was different about this owl. And it turns out later that was actually an ET that had thrown a projection of itself as an owl, so she didn't freak out, and there's many more stories. There's even movies that take it kind of like into the scare you, kind of horror direction about owls and ETs, but it does not have to be that way. There can be positive encounters, just saying. Anyway, that's all tied back into me finding my owl feather the other morning as just being also just a beautiful, wonderful messenger between different realms, and connecting in with messages from the ancestors or people who have come before. That can also be people who have recently passed, your loved ones. Okay, so that was the first off. We got the owl, and so already that's tying into kind of the ancestor theme here. Then we get number 16, which is also a 7. So again, thanks, Joy, to share for elaborating on the 7 there. The 7's coming up again. So we got coyote spirit, trust in the divine, detours. And I know I said I was going to do overall and then hold up the cards. Now I'm feeling to do the opposite, so just go with me. So that's a beautiful card there. So trust in divine detours. And with that, paired with that, jumped out at the same time, a 54 or 9, skunk spirit, know your worth. And I will do like a recap and make this make sense. But I love this skunk. It's sitting on, it looks like maybe, it's not a sunflower, although maybe it is. I can't quite tell, but a beautiful golden yellow flower. Know your worth. Then what came out was wolf. Need to read it over here first. Heart medicine. Let go that which does not serve your highest good. And when this card came out, to me, this very much had also like a guardian energy, kind of like a guardian angel energy, because it's just like, look at me. I'm here as a statement. And I'm telling you, let go of that which doesn't serve you, for your highest good. Just seem to be coming in from on high. Even when you look at this card, it looks like the feet aren't even walking on the ground. It's like walking on air, to show it's kind of more of like a spirit messenger. And then what's funny is from another deck, because these are all coming from different decks, is I had a feeling that after seeing that wolf, for whatever reason in my mind when I was pulling the cards, I was getting like laughter, like we all need to laugh more. And I wouldn't be surprised if the hyena comes up next. But what came up next was coyote again, but this time, instead of the message of trust and divine detours, is a very strong message, as you see in bold on the bottom. It says, what energizes me? But the main message on this thing is play. So instead of the hyena laughing, we got play by coyote again. So maybe to somebody out there, this is a very heavy symbolism, that the fact that it came in twice from 2 totally different decks, and coyote has not been on my mind at all. So it's not like me bringing it through. Is coyote. And I like this one too, because there's also, again, the golden or yellow flowers. So the one that came up before was a skunk sitting on a sunflower, what it looked like to me, or maybe some kind of mum. But to me, this card looks like, it's probably like a weed, but for me locally, what I think of is the tree. It's called the tabiabua, I think, or it's yellow pau de arco or something like that. And that's a very healing kind of flower, but it's saying play. So let's like, the flowers are like little bits of sunshine, right? So reminding us to play. So there's one more card, which I have to read off this side because it's really tiny. This one I forgot to read along with the owl. This card I didn't pull per se, but when I went to get something, move something around. I found this one on the floor. When I found this card on the floor, it had jumped out when I was shuffling on the Angels deck, but it wanted to come in pairing with the owl, and for reasons tied with the Athena connection. And I'll read it off to the side, and then I'll bring it up in the screen here. So it says, release jealousy. Let's see if I can read it. The print's kind of small. Jealousy is an affirmation that you don't have something, and the universe manifests exactly as you affirm. Let other people's successes inspire rather than frustrate you. If they can have it, so can you. So the reason why I want to bring that up is, this one wanted to sit next to the owl one. So what I was talking about before, Athena, what do we know? Again, if we can trust anything that's written, that's why the print's a little small, is that she was, a jealous god. The Arachne, her turning her into a spider was because supposedly Arachne was a human, a mortal, which we all know actually human beings, we are immortal ourselves, but, in the highest sense. But anyway, supposedly she was just a master weaver and outdid, even the gods. And so, we have this kind of petty god portrayed as the Athena. And again, I don't know if the writings are telling us the true story, but apparently, what did she do? She gets mad, transform Arachne into a spider because she was jealous of her amazing divine gifts. Oh, okay. Joy to Share says, that's a really beautiful sequence, the wolf into the coyote. True. And I bet you've got some good insights on that, Jay. Thanks. So, but that, it's a good reminder, I think especially now, again, the release jealousy, she's kind of got like, actually, it's an interesting card because it's more darker and muted toward her face, but her wings are have a spectrum or rainbow to them. And so I think it's showing it's the potential for us to head in that direction of jealousy, but to remember to, go back to our divine self, because in truth, absolute truth with capital T, there is no lack, there's no scarcity, there's more than enough for everybody. And we got caught in the illusion of things like, keeping up with the Joneses, they say, especially online, and looking at, people's YouTube channels, who has this many likes or who has this many subscribers. No, it's all a game. Don't get caught up in that. But it's hard, right? Because society, through things like YouTube platform, are conditioning people to, hey, feel great if they've got 1 million likes, but then also feel like crap if they're not getting it. And there's no real rhyme or reason to all of how it works anyway. If you look at the algorithms, people can buy subs, et cetera, with YouTube censorship. Oh my gosh, look at all the shadow banning going on. My channel is no exception. When I very first started, a wise intuitive told me, don't get caught up in the numbers. Don't even look at the numbers when you do this. It's not about that for you. And boy, they were right. But even the best of us and the strongest of us can kind of look and go, well, hey, why didn't that get a like, right? It's just full on being honest. But it's outside programming making us trying to feel less than with this. So don't believe the hype, right? Don't get into that trap is what a good reminder of this jealousy card is. Like, don't look over there. Just stay on your own path, and it's okay. There's more than enough for all of us. And if you're sitting there going, well, no, there isn't, I'm like sitting here and I could use stuff right now as far as resources. There's also a divine timing to it all. And I can tell you that, you may want something. And when I get into manifestation, that's a very slippery slope because, you might get something, but it could take you 20 years. So don't get caught up in timing. It could also take 2 seconds. But there's also an unfoldment involved with everything. And we're not given stuff too soon if on our bigger path and life mission, that would interrupt us. So, or say, I'll give an example, it's just coming to mind. Say you really wish you had money to own your own home. And not only own your own home, you want a home that's really nice. You want a home that's $500,000 or $1 million worth of a home. Others, you don't care. You could be in a tent, it's fine. I'm not talking about that, but just say for the person who really wants that, we'll say that nothing's lining up. They don't even know if they can get a home, if they're going to be lucky enough to get a home, etc. And then finally, they just kind of give up. And then suddenly they find they can get a home, and it can be purchase or renting, whatever. They finally get something, but it's far less than what they were saying. Hey, I want to manifest 1 million. Let's just say 1 million is easier math. And say they can only manifest 100,000, but somehow get a house. Well, it could turn out, you can look at it this way. This kind of departs from jealousy a bit, but someone in that situation can say, well, what the heck, man? I thought I was aligned. I've been doing all good things and putting good stuff out there, and I didn't get that million. And here you're showing me this house and it's 100,000. Well, it could be that if you did purchase something and did have the million at that time, you were going to be physically in the most wrong place you could be for your overall spiritual and just regular growth. Or say, a tornado comes through that neighborhood and the house that you had is just totally gone and there's no insurance to pay for any of it. That would have been the worst place. And over here in the other side of town, and this $100,000 house, you are totally fine, cozy. The power didn't go out, nothing, right? And then maybe later you'll get that other thing. Or, by the time you go through all of your growth and journey, you say, well, who cares? I don't care if it's $1 million or $2. As long as I'm in a good, safe environment, that's fine for me, right? So whatever. I kind of went all over the place with that. But the point is, do not be jealous. Staying in gratitude for where we are right here, right now. The absolute trust with a capital T, that we're exactly where we're meant to be. Otherwise, we would be somewhere else in that here and now moment. And the hardest part of all of that is the patience. You can believe it's coming, hang on to that belief and that knowing, but just do not get I'm not telling you what to do, but I'm just saying, but the key is not to get hung up in the timetable. I have wished for stuff that took 15 years to happen. Oh yeah, I was frustrated. What does this card say? Don't get frustrated. Actually, I want to read that line again. It says, let other people's successes inspire rather than frustrate you. And that's so true, even in your own example. Like, don't let it frustrate you. Go through those feelings. Sure, you're going to go through anger or frustration if you don't see something come around when you want it. But let those expressions move through you. And then you can be like, wow, I didn't know I could be that frustrated over something before. I guess now I know. But like, I've had stuff where I thought, oh yeah, any year it's coming now. And it took 15. I was at the height of my frustration, full disclosure. I was pissed some days, but then I just had to keep one foot from the other and just be like, okay, either I guess I'm just not supposed to have that or do that, or it will come when it's meant to come. And then kind of out of nowhere, it showed up. I had been wanting to do something for 15 years. And then when it actually showed up, I was like, oh my gosh, I almost can't even believe it's here. And then it kind of came and went. But now in my mind's eye, I go back to revisiting it at times. If I feel low, I'm like, wow, but I'm so grateful I got to go experience this. This was truly a magical thing. It's not lost on me that it took so long to do it. And now I, will totally, thoroughly be thankful for it every day that I was able to do it and bring it again. Hey, universe, if it's meant to line up again, I'll gladly repeat the experience. But otherwise, hey, I'm grateful for right here and now. And that it actually came. Again, would have been probably to my druthers. I'd rather have had come within a week or a year, not 15. But hey, there is a bigger thing that I also, is part of the lesson to trust, right? Have the patience, but more so just to have absolute trust in something. And then Joy to Share says, one view could translate to a really profound realization for that one person, but 5 gazillion views could equal 5 gazillion meh reactions. Very true. So the going back to the overall, and actually I kind of pulled everything apart. So the overall is, the coyote spirits, a trust in divine detours. That does kind of, tie into what I was just going on about. So the trust is in the divine detours. So there are things that are kind of set up without our conscious knowing or seeing it. It's kind of an undercurrent. We've got the owl imagery from the beginning also tying into the divine. There's many ways we can tie into the divine. And we're talking like air, land, and sea. We've got all of these elemental energies all over nature. There are many ways this can play out, like Joy to Share is saying. It can play out in an infinite number of directions and interpretations. But we also have, if we know our worth and we connect in with our heart and we bring in the energy of play, that's probably the most important card on this thing, is knowing something's got us, knowing there is guidance, knowing we can tap into our own heart medicine to, reassure ourselves in those moments that we want to lose it or be frustrated. But also then the moment that we were at like our breaking point of frustration, remember to step out and ground in nature. That's number one. But also then to go into play. It's almost like saying, you know what, I give up. I've like hung on to this notion and et cetera, et cetera. What can I do? There's nothing more I can do. You just totally give up, throw all the papers up, take a stack of paper, throw them all up in the air and don't care where they fall, and get into that spirit of, okay, show me fun then, because I don't know what else to do. Let's have fun with this. And then that's more often than not when, your bounty and the things that you were looking for will just come in when you have absolutely, completely let go, physically, energetically, every which way, out of your mind, all of it. Okay, so that was the first group. Now we will bring in the angel cards coming in from how many different groups? Like 5 different decks. Okay. So here I'll do a little half hold up. And again, I don't have a setup any other way, but I will post each of these spreads in the post section after this is over with. But here's where we're headed next. Okay. That gives you an overall idea though of the colors. We get a lot of nice pinks and lavenders in there and blue and gold. So this is like a very nice harmonious deck. So right off the bat, and I'm not a huge angel person, just, full disclaimer here. I know they're there. Just some people are all about the angels, or all about dragons, or all about this or that. To me, it's just like, I'll take whoever loving presence is there from whatever parallel realm, heavenly realm, whatever. It's kind of like equal opportunity employer. I love them all. For me, they just kind of sit in one big golden cloud above. I don't really distinguish. It's this, unless something really wants to step through. Did I ever turn my lights on? Hold on. I don't know what's going on. Oh, my little fairy lights wanted to conk out. I think they burnt out a little bit. Oh, well. Okay. Let's get to the angel reading, but I love them all is my point. All right. So the first card off the bat is 9 of water, and it says, your wish comes true. Concerns fade away. A love of life. All right. So I'm going to hold that up, and you can see big time water energy as it says 9 of water. 9 is the number of completion, and it says your wish comes true. And as we go further in, we see all of these beautiful chalices, and they're filled with treasure. But look at, when your wish comes true, you're not sitting there counting your coins. Like, there's no need to even worry about the number 9. And look at the sense of play. So this mermaid is just having fun and doesn't even need to, look down at how much treasure is there or isn't there. It's just again, just that knowing that your wish comes true, like you win. If you know that there's, with absolute knowing that something's got your back, you're free to go play, right? That you're protected. This one, she's not like looking around. Is there a shark? Is there this or this? I got to be on the defense. She's like, hey, I'm set, and let's just go play. And that's the energy, of this overall stack. Just know that you're provided for in the unseen. And if you've got it in the seen, great. And if not, you're covered either way. Then we got, from a different deck, you are a powerful light worker. It is safe for you to be powerful. Your spiritual power brings great blessings and loving service to the divine. And this has a very strong Mother Mary energy with the roses. Roses are often associated with the supposed Virgin Mother Mary. She's got beautiful blue flowing cloak and a beautiful light, right there, that God spark. So it's safe for you to be powerful. And yes, just by our showing up, we bring blessings wherever we go, and a bounty of them, no scarcity. Those flowers keep blooming, even in harsh weather, harsh season, because I'm looking at the vines and things around her look a little more, not dead, but, past season, and then we've got the fresh kind of spring flowers, summer flowers moving through. There's never any scarcity. And it's safe to be powerful. It's important right now that we shine our light wherever we go, because I just had a fleeting thought about this earlier, and I'm laughing, fleeting thought, because we've got vessels and fleet, the ships I was talking about earlier. But it's so important to just show up wherever you can, wherever you're guided to, and not where you don't feel it. Because, never underestimate this God spark, this spark of life that's in here in our heart space. It can't be dimmed. You don't want to dim that action. if we don't go out there and just let it shine with our conscious knowledge or not, people forget that that's even possible, that light is even possible to reach for. And, there's some people in very dark places that need that reminder. And we don't need to say anything to them. We don't even need to speak it. You just walk by and they can feel it. And that's the memory, like I was talking about the etymology earlier of memory. Some people need that little activation. And sometimes God, says, hey, tags us, you're it. I'm trying to tap, tap, you're it. I need you to go to the store. God might say to me, and I'm like, no, I'm tired. I don't want to go. And actually, I don't even need anything. Why are you asking me? Why am I getting that inner nudge to go to the store? Like say, pick up some milk. I already have milk. What are you doing? I don't want to go. But something strongly keeps nagging at you. Go. This is just one example of thousands, an infinite number of examples there could be. So if you ignore that, you're kind of like, hey, you got nudged, whether it's God or your guardian angel. Listen to it always. Go with your intuition. So if you're getting that, just get up and go, because one, God wants to work through each one of us, whether it's these messengers, these birds, angels in the angelic realm, or us here, because God is linked directly into that spark, and God can shine that spark and amp it up when you're around somebody who's in their lowest low, or God can dim it down maybe a bit, but it's always going to shine bright. And so that, like, oh, go to the store, even though you don't see the logic, the mind logic and going, God is saying, go, because I got a plan for you. Just walking through, you may totally turn their whole life around, even without saying a word, or one smile does, or without knowing why they turn to you and say, I don't know why, could I just have a hug? And you feel it and you hug them, and you just gave them a hug when they have no one else to hug in this world. Things like that. You just don't underestimate that can happen. Or conversely, it's like God saying, go there, like, you idiot. like if you're a hard learner and don't get it, because maybe God, the angels, whoever, has something very special lined up for you. And while you're just going to pick up a head of lettuce, you end up talking to somebody and have a conversation that then puts you further on your path where you need to go, and vice versa. Anyway, point is, you're a powerful light worker in more ways than you can possibly imagine. And whether you do anything actively or not, just the fact that you're breathing and have the life and light force within you in the heart space is all we need. We came equipped here. So no workshops, no books, no card readings even, to know that we are that spark, which equals love. And that is what we're here for. All right, now reward yourself is the next card. Let's see, when I'm off like this, I'm just putting it in the light because otherwise it's hard to read. It's a little dark over here. Reward yourself. You've been giving a lot of yourself lately, and it's time for you to receive. Make the time to reward yourself in a meaningful way. This balance of giving and receiving is essential to keeping your energy, mood, and motivation at a consistently high level. All right, now this card, it's reward yourself. It's pink and green, which is heart chakras. Okay, it's also blue, emotions. But it's nice. She's kind of like sitting there. And how many of us, there's the thing, like, are you a giver or are you a receiver? Are you better at giving or receiving, or are you having that nice balance? I think a lot of us that are so used to give, some of us find it's hard to receive. But that is an essential component. That card is absolutely right, because when that gets out of whack, then, we get all off balance. And like they say, I don't even want to say it right now, but something saying, say it anyway. So overused, the phrase, but it's true. You cannot give from an empty cup. You cannot pour from an empty cup. And especially if you're a parent, you have the tendency to give, because you're the one, you're on the, you're the one responsible, or, you're it. You got to take care of everything. But when that's taken to an extreme, each one of us needs to feel fulfilled and whole. It's not in the relationship arena that they keep trying to push in the movies, you complete me crap. No, we need to be whole and come complete. And then we can most best serve ourselves and another in a relationship. You don't need to have two broken pieces to put together. You have two whole pieces that unite and hug and lift each other up, right? Okay. Now we have two more cards. They're really little, so I'm going to read them over here and I'll put them up. Then we have angel. There's this angel deck that has actual like angel names. This one is Layla. Spend time alone in nature, meditating about your desires and intentions. Ask the angels to help you gain a positive perspective. So here we have the very contemplative Layla out in nature. And again, actually, she's out by the sea, but looking up to the clouds. And this is kind of like a timeless moment. So in this case, ask your angels or guides, ask whomever you feel to ask. It doesn't have to be angels. And just put it out there, what your intentions are. So it's just a very quiet moment. And then the next one with that is successful funding. Your idea is divinely guided and supported by the same infinite wisdom of God that gave you the idea. Do not allow money concerns to prevent you from turning it into reality. Crowdfunding, partnerships, and other investments are available to help you. Okay, well, here's this one again. We've got some like lavender, violet, light, like pale purple energy. And then we have an angel there. We have a little one, so that's symbolizing the birth of an idea. We even have like some stars above, it seems like. And I probably should have just read it off of here. Next time I'll do that, guys and girls. Yeah. So it's a good point here. The very loving divine that gave you the idea is going to be there to help, support it. But again, don't get caught up in the timing. I think that we talked about earlier in another pile group. So don't have an expectation of exactly when it happens. Remove time and money. I said this in another, I guess the last live. When we can release, our notions are being locked on to time and money. Yes, we know like in a 3D physical world, some of those things are needed to happen to make things happen. But if you can just allow yourself to get into a now moment, like Layla here, reflecting, get into a now moment. Like here, everything seems timeless. Like, I don't know, that could be the moon or the sun. That could be winter or summer. I don't know when it is. It's a timelessness. Get into the now moment of timelessness, and connect in and just say, hey, okay, these are my intentions. This is what I want to, see come through. And you had the idea, to do this project, say, but you're not seeing the coins, you're not seeing the way, or the people aren't there to make it happen. Well, then again, instantly release your notion, your worldly notion of time and money, and try to just not think about it for a while. Give yourself 24 hours and just say, I'm not even going to think about this at all. Like the other pile, I'm going to pull from the other pile. Screw it all. Let's call it an F it day. I'm not even going to think about it. And I'm going to go play, right? And that will help release any of these preconceptions that we have about time and money. Because what happens is that we're not allowing for the infinite to bring it in any number of ways. Again, back to Joy to Shares, there's 5 gazillion, ways, reactions, 5 gazillion ways anything could go down. And if we're just saying, oh, but I see it very laser focused this way, then we're not allowing for the divine to come in and play in that scenario. And what we are, laser focusing on might just bring us a very limited thing when there's just something more expansive that can come through. Or again, the timing. Maybe you have a very clear vision, but just hold that vision loosely, of what you want to do. Hold it a little loosely. If we grip too tight, that there's an energy there. Like I already feel my jaw clenching, like that doesn't feel good. But if you kind of just hold something, you have it, hold it loosely, that feels much better even in the body. So this is a little bit of a slippery slope, right? When we're talking about manifestation, I really don't like the word. I've said it before, unless you look at it as money in Italian meaning hands and fest meaning party in German, like a party in the hands, you can create anything. That's how I like manifest. But at the same time, I don't like manifest teachings when it's like, we get too much in the thinking and not in the heart, and are saying, laser focusing, but tying it to time and money. That gets tricky. So I guess what I want to say is with this overall reading is, your wish comes true, jubilant. Yes, it's there for you, but just don't get too married to the exact form, time, shape, and everything that it's going to happen. Hold that vision. I love the phrase holding the vision, definitely. But when you hold that vision, we can hold it nice and loose. We don't have to drop it, but we don't have to clench on it either, right? Okay, I guess that's enough for that one. Oh, but also reward yourself. You're a beautiful light worker. You are glowing light. You know, when you truly look at anybody and you can see into your soul, you should just feel the love more than a physical, I see you and this is how you look like vision, and reward yourself. Especially if anybody out there is feeling unworthy. You're worthy. I'm here to tell you you're worthy. So get that. They have a funny phrase, thinking out of your mind. You are worthy by virtue of being that spark of light. You don't have to do a damn thing. Just show up and breathe. Be loving. Don't harm anyone, but you are totally worthy. And do reward yourself, even past what you think maybe you would normally do, whatever that might look like. You know, reward yourself could be, you know, maybe you have this job, you're overworked, underpaid, so to speak, or even maybe you're finally paid, but you just are feeling overworked. Take a day off, you know, call it for yourself, not a sick day. Why do we have to say it's a sick day? To give ourselves, you know, the recuperation and rejuvenation that we need. Sometimes you can just take a day, just say, hey, I'm not coming in. Don't give a reason why. Just say I can't, you know, but don't attribute it to sickness. Just say won't be in. But, you know yourself better than anyone. And when you need those times to replenish yourself, those don't go by any traditional calendar. You know, feel into it. All right. Don't know why that came up, but it did. I have done that in the past, by the way. So I'm not just grabbing it totally out of the air. And I got into, by no means say I'm sick, because whatever you put after I am is not good. No bueno. If you have maybe kids in school, and I've done that too, just take them out. If they look like they need a rejuvenation day, I've taken them out and just say they're out due to sickness. Don't say they are sick. Just say due to sickness. To me, in my mind, the sickness is how society is forcing people to go rain or shine every single day, even if their body isn't in the position to do it. There should not have to be an excuse, right? If everyone's just true and honest to who they are and go about their daily, that should be enough, right? I think I missed. Oh, okay. Joy to Share says, knowing that we are guided, we are supported. You're so right that this is the most important thing. It gives you the flexibility to be playful and spontaneous when it otherwise would seem, quote unquote, illogical. So true and beautifully put, Joy to Share. Oh, also, by the way, anybody has not yet gone over to Joy to Share, go check out Joy to Share's YouTube channel. All right, so now we have one more group, which was the Ancestors, Ancients, and Ascended Masters group. Okay, and this one, again, I kind of will tentatively hold it up. I have pictures locking the reading in place, and I'll post them after the show airs. But this is just my way of getting around having multiple cameras, for better or for worse. Okay, I don't know. Here, I guess you can see it. So these are the cards that came out for this last group. Now, part of these two of these cards are coming from the Kuan Yin, which I never use. I haven't really been into this energy, but it just came up on Thursday, you know, that I posted that little video ahead of this reading. Wild Kuan Yin Oracle. It's by Alana Fairchild. She has some really nice cards, and the companion guidebooks have really nice words of wisdom in there. So we'll see if I read from them. I love the heck out of the two cards that came out. They literally fell out together, and there's a reason why I'm using that. It's a little bit punny. So the first card is, if I can get the number, oh, you know, I got to just hold it up here because I read it better here, is number 10, Safe to Fall. Now, the moment I read that, you know, this card came out first, Safe to Fall. Immediately, oh, hi, everybody, says Rita Pita. Hey, Rita, thanks for being here. Safe to Fall, right? Was such an unusual and really welcomed thing to read, because how many times do we look at like, oh, the negative connotations of fallen angels, or don't you dare fall, or oh my gosh, you know, what if we just say F it, it's safe to fall, and you do that kind of like trust, what do I call it, like trust plunge. You just go like this, and you have a partner. They do it in these workshops, right, these team building things, where someone stands behind you, and it's like the trust exercise. You put your hands out and you just start to fall, and you're trusting the person behind you is going to catch you. And then you've seen the jokes where, you know, then nobody does, but, you know, you still can get up. And to me, this reminds me of those dreams that you have where it's like pretty traumatic, or like you're about to be in an accident, or you're falling off a cliff. But what happens? You wake up and you never die in those kinds of dreams. Now, if somebody has, let me know, but typically you're like in a bad place, something bad's happening in your dream and you're about to fall, and then you wake up. You wake up, so you never have it like impact on the ground or whatever. That kind of reminds me of this moment and goes back into what we were talking about in group 2, is just trusting something has your back, front, sides, all around, and you can't necessarily see it. Now, in this case, I don't know what that is, like a parrot or something flying around. Just kind of watching things happen. But it's she's got one hand reaching up, but one hand reaching down. So she's like this like bird imagery. We're talking about the ancestors thing, through the whole show, like how the birds, and feathers are kind of our visual cues that we do have, protectors in unseen realms, seen and unseen. And this one, she's falling. So, but she kind of's got both ends covered. She's one hand up, like, hey guys, help, and one hand down, like, okay, but I can also help myself in 3D. I can put my hand down to buffer this thing. And so it's not being completely out of control, but it's letting us fall. And that moment of falling is a moment of suspension. Literally, you're taking a load off, all the burden is flipping off. And you have other concerns in that moment, which is actually can be a good thing than maybe some other little things that have you weighed down and you're worried about. They say don't sweat the small stuff. If you just kind of let yourself fall, probably if you could actually do it, if you have a swimming pool that's filled up, it's probably a good way to like get into that and just do the fall back. I think back in, what was it, the 70s in the United States, there was that awful Nestea commercial. I hate that I even know it in the brand name, but that's what brand is for. It brands it in your mind. You take the Nestea plunge and you just put your arms out and fall in the pool. I think that would hurt though, but it's the idea though of just letting go, and then and knowing that like in that case there's a swimming pool, like you're gonna be fine. And that safe to fall thing came out and in tandem, like in what I'm going to say, it's been a long week. The companion card to that came out at the same time was number 2. Her joy overcomes gravity. So look at that. These 2 cards came out together. And this is, again, for anyone just coming in, is from the Wild Kuan Yin Oracle deck. And so look how much fun she's having. And what is that? Just like a bull, I guess. He's having the time of his or her life too. And they're both just having fun. And actually, I'm going to read from the book on this one because Alana Fairchild has a nice description here. Her joy overcomes gravity. And that's what I was just talking about. When you feel light, allow yourself to do something that makes you feel light, then all burdens, all ties, are released. You feel actually physically lighter, right? Like carry around a suitcase all day, or for a couple of hours, and then put it down and you'll notice how light you feel. Let me just see. Number 2 it was. So we had a number 2 and a number 10, which can also be a number 1 on the cards. And I'll get to the other ones. I'm just feeling to stop and read the longer thing now, and I will get back into the overall reading. Let me just see if there's something we want to do. Yeah, actually, I'm not going to read this out loud. If anybody wants to know the longer version of this, let me know in the comments or email me and I can get it to you. But it's just a reminder to just drop everything. That's another way to look at this. The joy overcomes gravity. It's just to drop everything, whether it's metaphorical or you're in the middle of physically carrying something. It's like it gets too much. Just there's nothing that says you can't just drop it and then come back to it later. Just forget about it. Joy to Share says, I think I'm a little behind in the live, but you just pulled this safe to fall card. That makes me think of the saying that a bird doesn't fear the breaking of the branch because it has faith in its ability to fly. That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. Exactly, right? You're not going to fear if like the rug gets swept up from under you, because like her, we have a way to protect ourselves, even if you just kind of put a hand down, to break the fall. And I've had that done where I was like rounding the corner, some ice had spilled on the floor. I didn't know it. And I was like on a mission to do something. I rounded the corner and I did the freaking Superman, Wonder Woman, more like the Superman thing, arms out. Like it took me off my feet. It like swept out. I didn't see it coming, literally. And I'm like forward with the hands, the legs, literally like I'm flying through the air. And I remember instinctively, I just kind of turned something inside. I was like in a suspended moment. I wasn't enjoying the moment, but I was like frozen in time here. And I'm like, and then something instinctively said, do a roll like to the shoulder. And because I was loose and not holding anything too tightly, like in the last group we were talking about, don't hold time and money, just hold things loosely. Because I was holding my body and everything loosely, I was okay. But if I had like clenched and like been like, oh God, there's no, no one to help, I would have crashed hard and probably broken something. So it's like, Joy to Share saying that the bird, that branch suddenly goes, they're not going to freak out. We inherently, intuitively know that we can protect ourselves, or something connected to us, bigger, but also a part of us, integrated, will guide us in the right direction if we just but believe it's there and trust it and don't freak out. Okay, next cards come from the Heart and Soul Virtue deck. And actually, I keep forgetting to just hold it up here to read it. Because you are not concerned about prestige for yourself, you create opportunities for those around you to become strong and successful. And that comes out with, I'm going to have to read like 5 of these at once for that to make sense. But then we also have determination. And we also have courage. And then I'm going to just read the last 2, show them, and then we'll try to make sense out of these 5. This one comes from the Atlantis deck. So this is the Hierophant. And it says family, tradition, conform, religion, and spirituality. And then this one comes from the Rumi deck, and it is this scene. This very much has, like I was talking about earlier in the show, this, kind of blood vessel, womb, blood being like the, what was it? They said it so beautifully, like the incandescence of vitality of life. And this is number 2, passion for purpose. I may have to go to the book on that one. So in looking at the last 5, I got to put this up again and then make this make sense. Because you're not concerned about prestige for yourself, you create opportunities for those around you to become strong and successful. That's kind of an odd one, but I guess in a weird little way, it relates to also just kind of letting go and doing that little free fall, and knowing that we're okay in that fall because we can take care of ourselves. It's not like we have to like grab onto that person as we're falling down and bring them into the mass. We can just like take care of our own little sphere. And then that will let, free up other people to do things if they don't have to come in and assist just because we didn't believe it would work out. I remember once, like I was like 13 in an ice rink. I was just learning how to skate. I was doing okay. But then some girl came around all scattered and panicked, and she grabbed onto me from behind and pulled me down. I landed so hard on my coccyx, it hurt for about 6 months to sit in a chair at school. And I was so mad she pulled me down with her, right? So it's kind of like, in this fall, she's not like the birds up there. She's not like in vain, like reaching up to it to try to help her. She's just like, okay, I'll own this. Something's got me, right? In that case, that I was like that bird, and I couldn't really help the other girl, but she was just grabbing at sticks, right, and pulled me down with her. But it didn't really help the situation. It would have helped me more if she just fell and let me continue to fly, so to speak. Instead, we were like both in a mess. So yeah, if we don't worry about climbing to the top and getting all these accolades, if that's your goal, you're not really creating a nice environment for everybody to do their best and climb, right? And so anyway, it's just kind of like, let's see how this works. It's like just saying, like, you can be determined. It's just don't worry about like the prestige aspect of it, like what others think of you. And if you just have the courage and determination just to keep at your craft, keep going, you don't need to worry about anything else. And then everyone will also thrive in that environment. Same thing here in the family. What is he? Family, tradition, spirituality, religion. Okay, I guess I'll put these up as a pair. This is a little bit of an awkward reading, but oh well, we'll just keep going with it. So in this case, we have the Hierophant, and then we have the passion for purpose. So in this case, I get it more like this is kind of like an anchoring energy. It's talking about like the traditional institutions. And that's kind of like one aspect in the back of our mind. He's underwater. This is the Atlantis deck. And then here, the passion for purpose is kind of like a call. It's a kind of a weird imagery, but to go into our heart space. So we live from not what traditional society is telling us, but to live from what the divine purposes and from what something else that is, completely unscripted is guiding us to follow. And so with this whole thing, I'll just kind of sum it up as let yourself fall so you can let other things fall into place from other realms, seen and unseen. Just keep focused that you're, determined. What I'm going to say, we do have, actually, this is interesting. I didn't see this before until just now. Let me see if I can hold it up. These little cards do perfectly match this. I think this is why they came out. It's making sense now. Okay, I know I flipped the order like this, but whatever the case. So this one, where it's like determination, traditional society, you just, if you just, keep going 9 to 5, even though you don't want to, that's that energy. This one, and if you want to, that's another story, but it's just an example. But this one is courage, is literally is heart. So take courage, and it's also just follow your own courage, even if it means going against the grain, going against, what society is saying, being that one doing their own thing, zigging when everyone's zagging and zagging when everyone's zigging and not worrying about it. I guess that's this card too, right? Do your own thing, follow your heart. Don't worry about, but prestige is you're only going to get prestige or the awards if you do the traditional way. Well, check that out the window, have your little free fall, and, just fall into the joy of knowing you don't have to follow that script, and you can go without a script and just, make your own rules and follow your heart. So that's all I get for that deck. And so unless anyone has anything else to say in the chat, I think I'll wrap it up. I kind of went all over in directions I didn't intend to go with the card reading, but that's the nature of these things sometimes. So it is Saturday, and where I'm at, it might be Sunday where you are. Whatever the case, I wish you all tremendous peace and love. And again, send you out all heartfelt thanks for being here. And until next time, we'll see what comes up. You never know. All right. Tremendous peace and love to all. Bye. And bye, everybody. Bye, Rita. Take care, everyone.